I absolutely love kale chips, but from the store, they are so overpriced. And so today, I'm going to show you how to make your own kale chips really easily and very inexpensive. First, we're going to put some sun-dried tomatoes in a glass, and I'm also going to add some peeled almonds, raw almonds. You definitely want to make sure that the peels are off them because they can be quite bitter. Place those in with the sun-dried tomatoes and add in some hot water. Make sure everything is covered. And also I'm going to add in one dried ancho chili to add some smokiness because we're making some nacho cheesy style kale chips today. But you can make these however you want. You know, there's so many different seasoning combinations that are amazing. And now we're going to wash and destem our kale. I like to add a little bit of baking soda to the water and give it a really good wash. I did save this kale from being thrown away after the farmer's market, so I did have to pick off some rotten pieces, but that's okay. I don't mind. But go ahead and make sure all your kale has been washed thoroughly. Give it a really good rinse afterwards to make sure there's no baking soda left on it, and go ahead and strain it and set it aside to let it kind of drip dry. I'm cutting up some mini sweet peppers, but you can use bell pepper. It works exactly the same. You probably don't need a whole bell pepper though. As you can see, I'm only using two of the mini peppers. Then I'm going to add in a few cloves of garlic. I always like a lot of garlic in my food, and I'm also going to add in a small bunch of cilantro. I just needed to use this up. It was starting to go bad, and it works perfectly with the nacho cheese theme. Now, in the blender, I'm also going to add in my ancho chili, which I'm just removing the stem here. It's pretty fibrous, so you probably do want to remove it. And I'm also going to dump in my almonds and sun-dried tomatoes, but I'm throwing that water away. I'm also adding in some extra virgin olive oil, which helps the chips to crisp up, but it is optional. I'm also going to add in some sea salt, but go easy on the salt because these get smaller and the seasonings intensify on the kale chips. So just keep that in mind. And now I'm also adding in a generous amount of nutritional yeast because these are cheesy, right? I'm also adding in some cumin and some chili powder. I don't know if you could read that label or not, and some paprika because it's going to make it nice and smoky. I'm also adding in some dried onion pieces, and then I'm just going to add a tiny bit of filtered water to get things moving. It makes it easier to coat the kale chips, but don't overdo the water. You want this to be a pretty thick mixture. And I'm also going to add in a little bit of white vinegar. I usually prefer apple cider, but I am out, so the white vinegar works. But you do want something acidic. And I'm going to blend everything until it is super smooth. Everything's incorporated. And now we're going to coat our washed kale. I prefer to just get in there with my hands. I think it's a lot easier, but do it however you want to do it. These are your kale chips. So I like to mix everything up with my hands, like I said, and then you're going to get your dehydrator trays ready. I like to use Teflex sheets, but you can also use parchment paper. It works just as well if you don't have the Teflex sheets. So spread everything out pretty thinly onto your sheets, and then you're going to dehydrate these at 135 or lower if you prefer. And I tend to just overnight these and then they're usually ready the next day. And these are our finished kale chips. You just shake them or scoop them out onto the dish, however you want to get them there. I just try to be careful not to break them because I prefer the larger pieces. Although the smaller ones are nice for sprinkling on top of a salad, I will say that. And I have tried to make these in the oven, but I have not been successful. Maybe it can be done, but to me, the texture and the flavor is never quite the same. So I definitely recommend getting a dehydrator. You can find them in the Facebook Marketplace pretty cheap, like gently used. So I hope you enjoy this recipe, guys. That's it. I hope you enjoy this recipe and just listen to this crunch. I know you're going to love these as much as I do.